You remember her, the woman who woke before dawn, the woman who fed the whole village, the woman who learned, slowly, that she did not have to do everything alone. Tonight, we return to her bakery in Willowmere, because something has changed since the day she accepted that first bowl of soup, and today she is about to discover what happens when care begins to flow both ways. So now, make yourself comfortable. Let your shoulders soften. Let your jaw unclench. Gently close your eyes if they are not closed already. Take a slow breath in and a long, easy breath out. There is nothing you need to do, nothing you need to fix, nowhere you need to go. Just listen and allow this story to carry you gently into rest. The alarm sounded at 4 o'clock, not 3:45, 4. This was the first thing that had changed, and it was a small thing, and it had taken her 3 weeks to stop feeling guilty about it. 15 minutes. She had given herself 15 minutes, and it had felt for those first weeks like a theft, like something she was taking from the village, from the bread, from the version of herself who had always been the first person awake in Willowmere. She had lain in those extra minutes, rigid with the sense that she should be moving, that the ovens needed to reach temperature, that the sourdough starter was waiting, that the croissants would not make themselves. And then, gradually, it had become simply 4 o'clock. The alarm sounded, and she woke, and she lay still for her 1 minute in the dark. That minute she had always given herself, the one pause in a morning of motion, and then she rose. The choreography was the same. Clothes from the chair, cold water, the practical bun she had worn for years, with pins older than some of Willowmere's buildings. The narrow stairs, her hand on the wall, her feet knowing every board. But she was not rushing. This was the thing she had not expected. That 15 minutes less of rushing had somehow produced mornings that felt longer. She moved through the startup sequence of the bakery, lights, ovens, radio, with the same efficiency she had always had, but with a quality of attention underneath it that had not been there before. The radio was tuned to the station that played gentle music at this hour, and she listened to it instead of moving inside it. The starter she checked with the interest of someone who had time to be interested, noting the particular sour-sweet smell of it, the bubbles that said the wild yeasts were active, the faint warmth of it against her palm. This starter was older than her time at the bakery. Her aunt had received it from the baker before her, who had received it from someone else. A living thing, a thread connecting her to everyone who had baked in this building, everyone who had begun their morning in this particular darkness. She used to check it because it needed checking. She checked it now because she wanted to. This distinction she had come to understand was not small. She began the first batch of dough, flour from the large bin, water at precisely the right temperature, salt, the starter added in its proper proportion. Her hands moved through the sequence, and the dough came together the way it always did, transforming under her touch from separate things into something cohesive, stretching and folding. The rhythm that was as natural as breathing. Outside, through the high window above the counter, the sky was doing what May skies did before dawn. Not quite dark, not quite anything else. The particular blue of the hour before the birds began, before the first light arrived over the rooftops of Willowmere. She liked this hour now. She had always liked the work. She had not always liked the hour, had moved through it for years, with the grim efficiency of someone pushing through something necessary. But that had changed too, in the months since the mother had appeared at her back door with a covered basket and said, "I brought breakfast. Thought you might appreciate something hot that you didn't have to make yourself." She had learned, slowly, that the hour before dawn in a warm bakery, with the dough under her hands and the radio playing softly, was one of the best hours she had. At 5:30, she heard the gate. She always heard the gate now. It was a different sound from any other sound in the lane. At this hour, the particular click of the latch, the slight creak of the hinge. She had been meaning to oil for months, and had never oiled, because by the time she thought of it, she was always inside. She had come to love the sound. It meant Tuesday. The mother came through the kitchen door the way she always came now, quietly, without ceremony, with the ease of someone entering a space she had permission to be in. She was wearing the old blue cardigan she wore for kitchen work, the one with the slightly stretched pocket on the left side from years of tucking things into it. She set her bag on the counter and began, without preamble, without waiting to be directed, to wash her hands at the sink. "Morning," she said. "Morning," the baker replied. This was their greeting. It had never needed to be more. They had found, over the weeks of Tuesday and Thursday mornings, a working rhythm together that required very little negotiation, because they were both women who understood kitchens, who had spent long portions of their lives in them, who knew how to read what needed doing and do it without being asked. The mother had an instinct for the bread that had surprised the baker she had assumed she would need to instruct, to supervise, to manage the way she managed everything. But the mother had simply watched for 2 mornings and then begun quietly to work, and the work was good. She shaped rolls now while the baker moved the first loaves into the oven. They worked at adjacent counters, close enough to talk but not required to, the radio filling the space that silence left. Sometimes they talked, sometimes they didn't. Both were good. "The rhubarb is ready," the mother said, not looking up from the rolls. "I brought some. It's in the bag." The baker looked at the bag. She had not asked for rhubarb. She had not needed to. This was another thing she had learned, that some people showed care this way, through the noticing and the bringing, through the small practical offering of things they understood would be useful. She had once found this uncomfortable, the receiving of things she had not asked for, the adjustment required to let someone else's thoughtfulness land. She was better at it now. "Rhubarb tarts," she said. "That's what I thought." They worked side by side while the morning built itself around them, the ovens doing their steady work, the smells layering. The sourdough first, its tangy warmth filling every corner of the kitchen, then the butter from the croissant, rich and unmistakable, then the faint sweetness of the morning cinnamon rolls beginning their rise. Outside, the sky was properly light now, the May morning arriving with its particular combination of cool air and warm light. At 6:45, the baker ate breakfast. She sat on the stool she used to only perch on between tasks, and she ate a bowl of porridge she had made for herself, not standing, not in the gaps between other things, but sitting, with the bowl in front of her and a spoon in her hand and the radio playing something she didn't particularly register, but that was warm company in the kitchen. The mother continued working around her, and this was not awkward, but natural, and the naturalness of it was still sometimes something she had to consciously allow rather than resist. She was learning to eat breakfast. This sounded like a small thing. It was not a small thing. It was the thing the post carrier had meant when he said, "It's what you do, not who you are." The baker who ate breakfast sitting down was not less of a baker. She was beginning to understand, a baker who would still be baking in another 12 years. Mrs. Patterson arrived at 7 o'clock exactly the way she always had, and the door opened to the morning and the day properly began. The young woman's name was Sowers. She was 19, had grown up in Willowmere, and had appeared at the bakery door one Saturday in February with a handwritten note asking if there was any work, and a directness that the baker had liked immediately. She had said no. The reflex had been so fast and so complete that she had said no before she had considered the question, had opened her mouth and produced the word from pure instinct, from the same deep habit that had produced "I can manage," and "it's nothing," and "don't worry about me." Sausje had looked at her steadily, with the particular unblinking patience of someone who had grown up in a village where everyone knew everyone, and patience was therefore a practical necessity, and had said, "All right, I'll come back." She had come back the following Saturday, and the baker had, in the intervening week, thought about what the post carrier had said. It's what you do, not who you are. She had thought about it in the early mornings, and in the quiet of closing, and in the clawfoot tub upstairs that she now used on the evenings when she remembered that she could. She had thought about what it would mean to say yes, what would actually happen, whether the bread would be worse or the counter would be wrong, or the customers would feel somehow differently about a bakery in which she was not its only person. When Circe came back, she said yes. Saturday afternoons, 3 hours, covering the counter so that she could bake in the back without interruption, without the split attention that had always characterized the afternoon, the half mind on the oven, the half mind on the door, the perpetual monitoring of two things at once that had been her afternoon condition for 12 years. She had not known she could have one whole mind on the bread until she tried it. The bread was better on Saturdays. She had not expected this. She had expected the same bread, made more efficiently. What she got was bread made with presence, with the full weight of her attention, rather than its divided remainder, and it showed in the crust and the crumb and the particular quality of the loaves that came out of the Saturday afternoon oven, which the Regulus had begun to notice and remark upon without knowing the reason. Mrs. Patterson had said last Saturday, "I don't know what you did differently, but this loaf is exceptional." She had said, "I had help." This was also a new sentence, one she was still getting used to saying. Circe was in the shop now, covering the afternoon counter, her movements already confident in the space after 3 months of Saturdays. She had a quality of ease with customers that was different from the baker's quality of ease, warmer, slightly more chatty, genuinely curious about people in the way of someone who had grown up knowing them all and had not yet had to develop the particular professional warmth that replaced the natural kind. Customers liked her. Some of them came in on Saturdays now specifically, which the baker had noticed and which had produced in her not the concern she would once have felt, the anxiety of being replaceable, of no longer being indispensable, but something else, something that took her a moment to name. Pride. She was proud of Circe, who was 19 and competent, and had simply walked in with her handwritten note and had been right that there was work. She was proud of herself for having said yes on the second Saturday. She was proud, she supposed, of the bakery itself, which had turned out to be something that could accommodate another person without ceasing to be what it was. She went to the back and began the afternoon's baking with her whole mind, and she was still thinking about pride when the rhubarb tarts came out of the oven, golden and perfect and smelling of everything the season was. The Thursday closing was the change she was most proud of, and the one that had taken the longest to feel right. She had started it in February, on a Thursday when the afternoon had been slow, and she had found herself at 3:30 looking at the closed sign and thinking, "I could." The impulse had been followed immediately by the counter-argument. "You can't. People will come. There's still the cleaning. There's always more to do." But she had looked at the closed sign and thought of the post carrier saying, "The village will survive." And she had flipped it. Nobody had come. Or rather, two people had come, had read the sign, had looked mildly surprised, and had gone away. She had watched them from the window upstairs with her heart in her throat, certain that something was ending, that the agreement she had with Willowmere, "She stays open, they keep needing her," was breaking. But the two people had simply gone away, and the following day they had come back at 9 in the morning and bought what they always bought, and nothing had been said about Thursday. She had closed at 4 the following Thursday, and the one after that, by April, it was simply Thursday, the thing she did on Thursdays. The post carrier had been the first to remark on it, which had not surprised her. He noticed the patterns of the village the way only someone who walked every street every day could notice them. He had said, "Early Thursday." Good, she had said, yes. They had regarded each other across the counter with the comfortable shorthand of people who did not need more words than the words they used. What she did on Thursday afternoons varied. Sometimes she walked. Willowmere in May was worth walking through. The gardens beginning to show color, the hedgerows thick, the particular quality of late afternoon light on old stone that she had walked past for 12 years while being too tired to see it. She saw it now. She had started to see a great many things she had been walking past. Sometimes she sat in the cafe. This was the thing that had surprised her most about the Thursdays, that she had started going to Nora's cafe in the afternoon, sitting at a table in the front room with a coffee she had not made herself, and simply being there. She was a customer now, sometimes. This had required an adjustment of identity she had not foreseen. She was the baker, the one behind the counter, the one who served. Being served in Willowmere had felt strange at first, had felt like crossing a line she had drawn without knowing she was drawing it. Nora had understood this without being told, and had treated her with the same quality of presence she brought to every customer. Warm, attentive, not requiring anything, simply there. They had become, in the Thursdays, something closer to friends than they had been. She had not had many friends, she was realizing. She had had relationships, warm, established, genuine relationships with the people of Willowmere. Relationships of care and regard and long familiarity. But friendship required something she had not been offering. The willingness to be known in the less managed way, to sit across a table and talk about more than the ordering of bread, to occasionally admit to something uncertain or difficult or still unresolved. She was learning this too. It was slower than learning bread, but she thought it might last longer. She had not changed, and she had changed entirely. This was the paradox she had been living in for several months. The thing she turned over sometimes in the early morning while the dough was rising and she had time to think. She was the same person who had done this work for 12 years, who still woke before dawn, who still shaped every loaf with the same hands, who still knew Mrs. Patterson's order without asking, and still remembered to warm the teacher's coffee cake. The bakery was the same bakery. Willowmere was the same village. And yet, the post carrier had said something to her in March, when the changes were still new and she was still checking them the way you checked unfamiliar ground, still waiting for something to give way. He had come in for his usual scone and she had been at the counter in the way she was always at the counter, and he had looked at her and said, "You seem different." She had asked, "Different how?" He had thought about it in the particular way he thought about things, unhurried, looking slightly to the side, as though the answer were visible somewhere just past her left shoulder. Then he had said, "Like you're actually here." She had thought about this for a long time. Like you're actually here. She had been here for 12 years. She had been here every morning at 4, every day until 6, every holiday with a modified schedule, every illness pushed through, every slow month endured. She had been present in the bakery with her body for 12 years without interruption. And yet the post carrier had looked at her in March and said, "Like you're actually here," as though she had been somewhere else before. She thought she understood what he meant. She had been managing the bakery. She had been so occupied with the managing the efficiency, the output, the perfect reliability of a woman who never let anything slip, that she had not been fully present in it. The managing required a quality of forward motion, of perpetual readiness, that left no room for the moment you were in. You were always already preparing for the next moment. The bread was always already being made for the customers who would come tomorrow. She was in the moment now. More often, not always, she was still a baker, still needed to plan ahead, still lived in the particular time consciousness of someone whose product required 12 to 14 hours from start to finish. But alongside the planning, there was now a quality of presence she had not had before. A capacity to be in the Tuesday morning with the mother-shaping rolls beside her, in the Thursday afternoon in Nora's cafe, with a coffee she had not made herself, in a moment when Mrs. Patterson said, "You look well, dear, and mean it." The village felt different from inside this presence. Warmer, she thought, though the temperature had not changed, more inhabited. She noticed things she had been walking past, the wisteria on the wall at the corner, which had been there for years and which she was only now seeing because she now sometimes walked home slowly enough to see it. The conversations that lasted a few minutes longer than they used to because she was no longer already moving toward the door. The way the cafe felt on Thursday afternoons, the particular quality of being somewhere that asked nothing of her except her presence. She had thought for 12 years that she was at the center of Willowmere. She had been at its service. Now, for the first time, she was also inside it. At 5 o'clock, she brought the rhubarb tarts out of the bag and set them in the display case. There were 16 of them. She had made them with the rhubarb the mother had brought and with the recipe she had developed over 2 springs, which was not a complicated recipe, but was a particular one, the kind that existed only because she had made it enough times to understand what it wanted. A short pastry, slightly crumbly, with enough butter to be generous. The rhubarb softened and sweetened without losing its sharpness entirely, which was the thing about rhubarb that she loved, its unwillingness to become entirely sweet, its insistence on keeping something of itself, even after heat and sugar had done their work. She looked at the tarts and felt the satisfaction that good work produced, which was a satisfaction she had always had, and that was unchanged. The work was the same, the joy of the work was the same, but she was less tired when she felt it. This was the central difference, the thing she kept returning to when she tried to understand what had happened to her. She was less tired, not without tiredness. The 4 o'clock alarm was still the 4 o'clock alarm. The bread still required hours of physical work. Her back still ached in the afternoon if she had been bending too long. But the tiredness was bounded now. It had edges. It did not extend into everything, did not fill every hour, including the hours that should have been rest, did not accumulate without pause into the sediment exhaustion she had lived with for years, without recognizing as abnormal. She was tired, and then she stopped. This was the new arrangement. Sorcia came through from the front to tell her that the bookshop woman was asking for her. She went out. The bookshop woman was standing at the counter in the way she stood everywhere, with the particular contained stillness of someone who spent her days among books, who had developed the bookshop's particular patience, who never seemed to need the world to move faster than it was moving. She was looking at the rhubarb tarts. "I'll take 4, she said, "and the sourdough." And she paused. "How are you?" The question was the same question people asked each other 100 times a day in Willowmere and everywhere else. The question that usually required only a social answer, the fine or very well or can't complain, that served as the coin of ordinary exchange. She had given this answer 1,000 times. She still gave it sometimes when it was appropriate, when the question was social rather than genuine. The bookshop woman's question was genuine. She had known this about the bookshop woman since the afternoon she had appeared at the counter with 2 loaves and set one down and said, "This one is for you, for tomorrow morning. So you don't have to bake before you've even had breakfast." She had cried after that, quietly after the door had closed. She had not told anyone. I'm well, she said, and then, because it was the bookshop woman, actually well, not the other kind. The bookshop woman smiled. It was not a large smile, but it was real. Good, she said. I thought so. You look it. She wrapped the tarts and the bread, and the bookshop woman took them and left, and the baker stood behind the counter for a moment in the warm late afternoon bakery and thought, yes, I am. She was well. This was itself something she was still getting used to. She closed at 6, the same time she had always closed. The difference was in the closing itself. She used to close and begin immediately. The cleaning that took an hour, the preparation for tomorrow, the setting of things in their places so that the morning would be manageable. She had been unable to stop. Stopping had felt like falling, and so she had kept moving, had filled the hour after closing with the next layer of the work, had arrived at bed depleted from a day that had never had a proper end. Now she closed and looked at the bakery. Just that. She stood in the middle of it for a few minutes and looked at what it was. The display case, mostly empty now, the day's work having moved out through the door into the village in paper bags and carriers. The racks behind the counter with what remained, always something, always a little extra that hadn't sold, which she would take upstairs or leave for Serie on Saturday, or set in the basket by the door that people knew to look in if they needed something. The counter wiped down, the floor reasonably clean, the starter in its crock, fed and covered, working through the night. It was enough. The day was enough. She did not need to fill it further. She did the necessary cleaning, the things that genuinely needed doing, that would matter tomorrow. The rest she left. The rest was not negligence, it was proportion. She had learned the difference between the work that was necessary and the work she did to avoid stopping, and this distinction had become one of the most useful things she knew. She turned off the lights in the bakery and left the light on above the window. She had always done this, the light above the bakery window, the one you could see from the lane at night, the one that said, "This place is resting, but not absent." This had been her lighthouse in the other direction, the thing she offered the village. Even in the hours when she was not offering bread, she had never thought very carefully about why she kept it on. She thought about it now. She left it on because it was true. The bakery was resting but not absent. She was upstairs, present, part of Willowmere even in the hours when the counter was empty. The light said, "I am here." Not performing, not working, not giving, only here. She had learned this year that being here was itself a form of giving. That presence, simple, unperforming presence, was something she had always offered the village through the bread and the counter and the 12-year reliability of the open sign. She was offering it differently now, more fully, with more of herself inside it. She climbed the stairs to her apartment, the narrow stairs, the creaking boards, the familiar path. Her feet knew it, her whole body knew it. She was home. The apartment above the bakery was the same apartment it had always been. Small, practical. A kitchen that was for her alone, which still felt slightly strange after years of the kitchen below being her real kitchen, the one that mattered, the one where the real work happened. A sitting room with a chair she had not sat in much until recently. A bathroom with a clawfoot tub, the clawfoot tub that she used now. She had used it 3 times in 12 years. Before last November, she had used it 8 times since. This was a form of progress. She tracked privately and with a satisfaction she had not expected to feel about something as simple as a bath. Tonight she did not draw a bath. She made dinner instead, actually cooked it, standing at the small stove in the upstairs kitchen with the window open to the May evening, the particular quality of early summer air coming in from the lane below. She had started cooking up here, not the elaborate cooking of someone with time and energy to spare only the simple things, the meals she made because they were good and because she was worth the 15 minutes of making them. She ate at the small table by the window. From here she could see a section of the lane and a portion of the square beyond it. The tree fully leaved now, the last of the evening light on the cobblestones. She could see the corner of the cafe, its door closed at this hour, the amber light within. She could see the bakery window below her, the light she had left on. She watched the village settle. This was something she had not done before, had not had the capacity to do, had been too depleted by the time the day ended to have anything left for observation. But now she sat at the window and watched Willowmere move through its evening, and she felt in the watching a quality of connection she had not expected. She was part of this, not only as the baker, not only as the functions she served, the role she had built her identity around for so long. She was part of Willowmere in the way that people were part of places they inhabited fully, known, present, belonging, without needing to earn the belonging. The post carrier passed below the window, his bag empty now, the route done. He glanced up at her window. She was not sure if he could see her or only the light, and lifted a hand. She lifted one back. Small things. The accumulation of small things. She thought about what the mother had said in those early weeks when the baker had tried to thank her, and the mother had said, "You do the same for any of us. You have done the same. This is just returning what you've given, dear. Let it balance." She understood this differently now than she had then. She had understood it as, let the accounting work, let the debt be repaid. But that was not what the mother had meant. The mother had meant something simpler and more profound. That care was not a transaction but a current. That it moved through a community the way water moved through a watershed, finding its way, taking the shape of what it passed through, arriving where it was needed, without anyone having planned the route. She had been putting into that current for 12 years. The current had always been flowing back. She had simply been facing the wrong direction. She washed her plate and put it away and stood for a moment in the small kitchen with the evening light fading outside. She was not tired in the way she used to be tired. She was tired in the ordinary way. The body having done its work, having done it well, being ready for rest. There was a quality of completion to it that the old tiredness had never had. The old tiredness had been an accumulation that never cleared, a debt that never balanced. This was simply the end of a day. Tomorrow, the alarm would sound at 4. The starter would be ready in its crock. Mrs. Patterson would arrive at 7. These things were the same, and they were good, and she was glad of them in a way she had not been glad of them for some years. She went to bed before 9, the way she sometimes did now without guilt, and lay in the dark listening to Willowmere outside the window, and felt for no reason she could fully account for, and for every reason she could name glad. The bedroom was quiet. Through the window, the lane below, the cobblestones catching the last of the street lamp light in the particular way of May evenings, when the sky held some residual brightness even after dark. The sounds she had always heard from this window, the settling of old buildings, the distant sound of something in the village that was simply the village going on. They were the same sounds. She heard them differently now. She breathed in the smell of the apartment above the bakery, which was part bread and part her own life, and entirely, after 12 years, home. She breathed out. She thought about the rhubarb tarts in the display case, 16 of them, made from the rhubarb the mother had brought because she had thought of her and wanted to bring something. She thought about Sausje at the counter on Saturday, moving through the space with the ease of someone who had been welcomed into it. She thought about the Thursday in the cafe, the coffee she had not made, the conversation with Nora that had lasted longer than either of them had planned because neither of them had wanted to stop it. She thought about the starter in the crock downstairs, working through the night, doing what it had done every night for decades, a living culture, older than her time here, older than her aunt's time here, a thread connecting every baker who had ever stood at this counter to every loaf that had ever come out of this oven, a thing that required care to survive and that rewarded care with its own particular vitality. She had been that kind of thing all along, something that needed care to keep working well, that gave more when it was tended. That had, when she had been depleted, been producing depleted bread without knowing it, bread that was still good, still nourishing, still Willowmere's bread, but not quite what it was capable of being. The bread was better now. She was better now. Not fixed, not finished, not arrived at some place where everything was resolved and nothing was difficult. Only better, in the way things were better when they were given what they needed, more fully themselves, more able to do what they were made to do, more present in the doing of it. She had let people in. This was what had changed. Not the alarm, not the closing time, not the new help on Tuesdays and Saturdays. Those were the shapes of the change. The substance of the change was this. She had opened a door that she had been holding shut for years, not out of malice or strategy, but out of the simple, ingrained belief that the door should be shut, that needing was dangerous, that the only safe position was to give and give and give and require nothing in return. She had opened the door, and the people of Willowmere had come through it, not all at once, one at a time. The mother with her breakfast basket, the cafe listener with her soup, the post carrier with his direct and gentle words, the bookshop woman with the loaf of bread held in both hands, Serge with her handwritten note, Mrs. Patterson with her "You look well, dear," which was the simplest possible way of saying "I see you." They had been waiting to come through. They had always been there. On the other side of the door she had been holding shut, with their offerings and their attention and their genuine, uncomplicated wish to give back a fraction of what she had spent 12 years giving them. They had not demanded entry. They had simply been present, patient, waiting for the moment when the door opened enough for them to offer what they had always wanted to offer. She had let them in, and what had come through with them was not dependency, not burden, not the loss of herself she had been afraid of. What had come through was the particular warmth of being genuinely known, of being inside a life rather than only in service of one, of giving bread and receiving soup and knowing that the exchange was not a weakness but the whole point, the thing that made a village and a life a life. The light above the bakery window was still on. She had left it on the way she always left it. This place is resting, not absent. She was resting too. And she was not absent. She was here, actually here, in the way the post carrier had meant when he said she seemed like she was actually here. Present in Willowmere, present in her life, present in the particular, ordinary, extraordinary fact of being a person in a place, being known and knowing, giving and receiving, making bread every morning from a starter older than herself, and setting it in the window for the village to find. Let your eyes close. Let the night hold what the day made. You do not have to earn the right to be held. You only have to stop refusing it. And when you stop, when you open the door and let the people who love you come through, you do not become less. You become more of what you always were. More present, more whole, more able to give from a place that has not been emptied. The starter is working in the dark. The village is sleeping, and she is resting, finally, in the knowledge that the bread will still be good tomorrow. Better, even, because she is. Sleep well, dear one. You are safe, and the night will hold you